IPMNation.com.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
I'm just hoping it doesn't take another 85 runs of this to figure out how to time this. Welcome to All Natural Being. It's Brian, very fired up to be hanging out with you 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Oh, my day. I just tell you, it's so much easier. I get all my stuff done, all my running around, everything, and then I'm like, oh, look, it's like 9:45. Why don't we saunter? Why don't we meander on into the studio and do our little show? This is fantastic. Of course, I haven't figured out the segue. I missed that by a couple seconds this morning. But I want to thank everyone for Monday that, texted in at 331-684-7685 or SOUL. Want to thank them for listening. I have to tell you, the reason I chuckle is someone did text me last week and say, or call or email me and said, I dialed that number, 331-684-SOLE, so, but I couldn't get to you. So I apologize. It's 331-684-7685 or SOUL. Now, if I ever do a show about footwear, it will be 331-684-SOLE, right? If I ever did develop a footwear fetish and we're going to do a whole show about it, then that'll be the numbers. Also, don't forget, allnaturalbeing.com, revivingsuperhumans.com, unlockingmetahumans.com. All those. Go right over to me. Come on in. Leave me an email. I'll fire one back to you, and we'll catch up that way. Also, Facebook, Brian Brawdy Official. Looking at it right now. So if you're around, and why wouldn't you be? It's like middle of the day, not the crack of dawn. We were doing it before. If you're around, go ahead. Send me a text. Send me a tweet. Get on in here one way or another, and we'll hook up and see what we can make of this hour together. It is an hour, as you know, designed, I hope, because that's my purpose. I don't have any goals, at least not many in life. I try to get rid of every goal that I have. It's my purpose, my motif, my thought, to simply remind you who you really are, who you ultimately are. My gig is to make you feel like yourself again. That's it. So bottom line, everyone says, oh, do you have an elevator speech for your show? Yeah. Well, I would like you, first, 5th floor, please. Push that button for me. And then my elevator speech would be, I just want to make you feel like yourself again. I want you to get back. I want you to take an evolutionary leap back to who you are at your core, the marrow of the mind, at your heart. As Rumi, the poet, would say, the root of your soul. That's what I want this show to be. A show because, right, especially now when it's coming on 11 a.m., which is heading into lunch for folks, maybe the morning's beating them up already. I want this show to be a breath, literally, a breath of fresh air. Best acronym, you breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon. Then you think, talk, take action, tap into your natural resources, be thankful, however you want to fill out that BEST acronym. That's what I want All Natural Being to be. A show like if you were Superman, this show would be the phone booth that you could duck into and then come out with your cape and leotards. I think they're called leotards. You could come out. So this show is like the phone booth or the front foyer. I think it's what you call it, like the little hallway when Wonder Woman would walk in and start to spin in a circle, and then she'd come out all decked out with her golden rope. That's what I want this show to be. It would be like a phone booth or a foyer where you and I could come in, hang for an hour, and go, well, I'm ready for just about anything the afternoon may hold. That's what I'm looking for. That's why I'm here. So I also want to take the time to thank you for making us the number one show here on IPM Nation. And I think we're number one, as you know, because it's a show about you, not the watered down you, not the weathered you. I like the idea of you and I cultivating the ability to be weather resistant. I told you, I think I said last week about that commercial. Oh, we have weather resistant decking. Great. I'd like this show to be our attempt at weather resistance. Some spackle. If you have any cracks, you need your cracks filled. We got spiritual spackle to fill your cracks. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what all natural being is. And that's already, that's my elevator speech, maybe a little longer than it should have gone. But I want to thank you for making us the number one show. And I sense that we remain here. I think we do. Now, they haven't updated the numbers in like 15 days. And I know Matt and Jen are listening now. Wink, wink, nod, nod. That might be the way of breaking it to me going, oh, Brad, you know what? I don't know. We haven't updated the numbers because, and I go, oh, man, really? Are you kidding me? So I don't know. That might be the case. But as best I can tell you right now, surprised as everyone is at episode 83, that we're still number one. And I believe we are because it's a show about you. I dig hanging out with people that are excited about connecting, reconnecting, revitalizing. They're metahuman. They're superhuman. They're all natural being. So thank you very much for that. All right, before we jump into today's show, a little bit of work? No, what was it? A little bit of informational programming kind of stuff. All right, we've been going crazy here. So here's what we're going to do. Starting next week, all the time, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, and then I get ready to do it and I don't have my sticks. So no drum roll. But starting next week, we're going to bring on board video implementations of a lot of stuff. There'll be little Facebook videos, and then eventually we're building towards next week, maybe in the beginning of the week, right? Because I'm still a one-man show. Right? So I'm trying to ramp up and do all these things, but we'll be broadcasting live in video as well, right? So if you head on over to YouTube or maybe stay on Facebook, I don't know. We got to figure out how long we can stay on Facebook. Will Facebook take a full hour? Hey, if anyone knows that, can you broadcast a live video via Facebook for a full 59 minutes? 60. You know me. Sometimes I run over. Let me know. 331-684-7685. 331-684-SOUL. SOUL. All right, so some more housekeeping was the word I was looking for earlier. A little more housekeeping. I think one day last week, maybe a couple weeks ago, I've had a lot of television commercials lately. A lot of things that we've been doing for different clients that I've had to leave. We talked about that, I believe, on Monday. But I thought, well, this would be a pretty cool way of catching up and let you know a couple weeks back where I was, what happened, why we had to do a replay of the show, along with my commitment. If I can help it at all, we're never going to have another replay again here for All Natural Being on IPM Nation. Because what happens is I get in, when you start traveling, and then that one time in Salt Lake City, it was like 100 and whatever it was on the tarmac, like walking across Death Valley. And the flight couldn't take off because everyone brought their kettlebells or their bowling balls or their marble collections with them, whatever it was. But the plane couldn't get off the air. So it was delayed, and we had to rebroadcast an old show. So what we're working on now is we're going to put a couple new shows in the can, and then we'll have them so that if anything happens, I get stopped for speeding, going somewhere, and I'm going to be delayed. Or, in this day and age, you ride a bicycle around this place. You take your life into your own hands. So if I'm out on my bicycle and I get clipped by somebody, I don't know, who knows, maybe they're broadcasting a live video while they're driving down the street and they're looking more at checking their look and not looking at the bicyclist alongside the road. For whatever happens, right? Dow follows its own path. Whatever happens, if I don't make it back, we'll have some pre-recorded but brand new shows. No more going back and saying, oh, let's relive episode 60. But I'm not blaming anyone but me. Always my fault. It's been my travel schedule, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to have some in the can, so we don't have to do that. Oh, another thing. A part of that travel was, as I said, I had to go to KSL. So we posted today over on Facebook, probably on Twitter as well, I was out yesterday afternoon shooting a commercial, and someone said to me, "Why do you say probably? The word's probably." And I go, "Is it professional football?" It's professional football. So I guess I'm getting caught left and right. So I'm trying to figure out the proper way. But, you can't. What do I know? But in any event, over on Facebook, we posted the tease for tonight. It's all about Zika. So I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about that this morning, because a lot of people freaked. You don't have to live in Miami. Excuse me. You don't have to live in Miami just to be freaked about Zika, right? It's another insect-borne virus that you can get if you're not careful. So I thought maybe this morning we could talk about that a little bit. And people go, well, how is that all natural being? You doing survival commercials or survival spots. How is that all natural being? Well, I've got to tell you, and we'll get to that. So now let's do it now real quick. This whole concept of outdoor survival, outdoor adventure that I've been on TV for now thousands of times, TV and radio, thousands, newspapers, thousands of times, talking about finding adventure where you find yourself, adventure in your own backyard, the exotic within, how to get out, how to reconnect with nature. Wordsworth, come forth in the light of things. Let nature be your teacher, right? But a lot of that started because I was spending all this time out in the middle of nowhere, out in the wilderness, and I didn't know anything about gear or protection or any of it. Didn't even know about like mattresses and sleeping bags, which you could carry when you go out in the wild. But I knew that spending time alone in nature, as we've talked about before, spending time alone in nature was important for my spiritual self-defense, especially after my father's suicide. So for me, I was a spiritual survival expert, spiritual self-defense expert, long before I was an outdoor survival expert. Long before. I just knew that the sense of guilt, that if I was ever, and we're going to talk about forgiveness this morning, but the times that seemed most likely for me to be able to forgive myself came when I was alone in nature. And that's how this whole concept of outdoor survival started. Because for me, oh, great, thank you. Someone just saying, yes, indeed, you can do Facebook Live for 59 plus minutes. Thank you very much for letting me know that. All right, so maybe we'll do it live to Facebook, and then we'll have like the retape going to YouTube, or maybe we'll do two cameras, two computers, and we'll go live to both. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes, indeed, you can do a Facebook Live for 59 minutes. So that'll be at some point next week. Honest to goodness, if I have to do this with a flashlight and stick figures, I'll be doing it. Oh, Lisa, thank you very much. Lisa just texted in and said, yes, you can do 59 minutes. 59 minutes on Facebook. That's going to be great. So that's what we'll be doing some point next week. So getting back to this whole concept of spiritual survival, I was doing it out in the middle of nowhere. As I've said before, a cave in China, to kayaking the Everglades, hiking Death Valley, snowshoeing in Yellowstone. Because for me, and I started out, I was a dork. I didn't know how to use any of this gear. Ask some of my friends. First time I ever filled a backpack, probably 120 pounds. I made it 250 yards and dropped like a bag of rocks. Right? I didn't know any better. So I had to learn this outdoor survival stuff because for me, it's important that we learn how to protect our spirit. It's important that we learn how to be a self-defense expert when it comes to protecting our own soul. Forget about always leaving it on the sidelines. If we call it into the game, what are we going to do to protect it? And we're going to get to that this morning. So that's the KSL spot. It'll be, I'm sure they'll put it up on their website. It'll air live tonight. So if you're listening from Salt Lake City, you'll be able to see it 10 p.m. after their Olympic coverage. I think the Olympics begin sometime soon. After their Olympic coverage. And then they'll rebroadcast the segment. I'm sure they'll send me a link and we'll throw it up on Facebook or Twitter or any of the other places that we put it. So I just didn't want to throw in a commercial that was absolutely unrelated. I thought, just to... in the interest of full disclosure, that's how I got to be a survival expert. And people go, well, What does it take to be an expert? I would say surviving in the middle of nowhere, right? Being able to pull it off. So in any event, that's why I was gone for the spots with KSL. And, I've had other people say, well, we should incorporate some of that into All Natural Being for people that want to reconnect. And I think they are the great outdoors. But here it comes with a little bit of a disclaimer. I don't go into the great outdoors thinking, oh, Mother Nature, doesn't she love me? No. First time you ever get smacked by a rattlesnake, you'll go, yeah, that's some tough love for Mother Nature. I think I've said once before. I got some comments on this. Yeah, Mother Nature, oh, kumbaya. Come sit at the tree. Mother Nature loves you. Didn't work out well for the pterodactyls. First one that catches a meteorite in the forehead flying around, right? So it's not that kind of, oh, the beauty of the lily in the field. Right? This is real reconnection to nature, to your all-natural being, and we're going to get that this morning. All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
IPMNation.com.
IPMNation.com. All-natural being. That's what you're listening to. All right, so this morning, the anaerobic aphorism. And let me just say, if I could take one more, just a quick 10 little seconds, I am loving this time of day. Just digging it. All right, so here we go. What were we talking about? Oh, anaerobic aphorism, that's right. The ultimate spiritual self-defense tool. Ever find yourself going, what's the ultimate spiritual self-defense tool? Oh, shocks of shocks. I have the answer. It's forgiveness. It's forgiveness. And look, it's not for them. This is all about you. This is all about being selfish. This is all about being, I'm all over it. I think you should, from time to time, you should be a little narcissistic. This is all about you. I'm not saying forgiveness. Oh, forgiveness. Isn't that so nice of him? He wants everybody to get along. I don't care about everybody. I care about you. I want you to be able to get along with your own reflection in the mirror. Rest of them? The walking, talking Venus flytraps, the people that are constantly trying to victimize us one way or another, philosophically, spiritually, physically, hell with them. I couldn't care less about them, right? Which would be, just as you know, closer to the top of that list would be, I've said before, if I ever meet the Queen, I'm not going to curtsy. I'm just not going to do it. So, in any event, it's forgiveness for you. It's being selfish for you. It's not about them at all. Not about them in the least. And that's what we're going to talk about. That's going to be the focus of today's show. Because tons of research, not just research of late, but throughout the ages. You look at Jesus hanging out on the cross. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Or from the Hindu, the Bhagavad Gita. If you want to see the brave, look at those who can forgive. If you want to see the heroic, look at those who can love in return for hatred. So the Gita's got it going on. It even knew thousands of years ago how important it was. So let me give you this little insider trading tip, if you will, because I think he nailed it. Paul Coelho. If you haven't had a chance to read him, he's written a bunch of great books, great reads. And he gave us a little bit of a hint where he said, you can either be a victim of the world, right? The world's going to do. All the people say, oh, come into nature. Nature loves you. No, she isn't. She's a predator. Nature's going to do whatever she can to knock you off, which we'll get to here in a little bit with Zika. He says, you can either be a victim of the world or an adventurer in search of treasure. And he says it all depends on how you view your life. So for us, what do we know? Life is an adventure. Not an expedition, not a carrot at the end of the stick, not a bucket list, a to-do list, all these other things. Right now, in this moment, are you going to be an adventurer? Are you going to explore everything, every drop of the exotic that this sliver in all of time has? Got into a little bit of a thing on Twitter this morning. Popular author says, it's a good thing to kind of massage fortune by having a long-term vision of where you want to be. Well, I couldn't let that go. It's Brian. Not like you have a guest host today. Couldn't let that go. I go, the heck with where you want to be in the future. How about going deep now? Because when you go deep now, when you reconnect to your all-natural being, you don't have a fear that compels you to want to somehow mold fortune or persuade fortune in the future. You know that no matter what happens, you're going to be able to confront it. You're covered. Universe has got your back no matter what happens when you're connected to your all-natural being, when you're channeling your meta-human, your superhuman, your all-natural being, the all-natural you. Then you have no fear of what's around the corner. There are no dead ends, only cul-de-sacs here in the labyrinth. So no matter what chaos throws at you, you laugh at chaos. Give me another side of that, right? It's like going to a restaurant and going, give me 2 scoops of that. I'd like 2, my entree, I'd like a double scoop of chaos. Because you can handle whatever happens. Right up front, you can handle whatever happens. And how cool is that? We don't have to worry. So leave the planning for the future to fate, because it's gunning for you no matter what you do. You spend time in this moment tapped into your all-natural being. That's when you begin to search for the treasure, because the treasure's on the inside. We talk about it all the time. I think you're one big skin bag full of natural resources. One big skin bag full of buried treasure. The rainbow ends where you are. So I think he's right. You can either be a victim of the world or an adventurer in search of treasure. And it all depends on how you view your life. Now, that's just not some Pollyanna baloney. Save that for all the gurus. All their bat crap crazy. Well, I told you the other day about trying to read that meditation book. Oh, my good golly. It was painful. We're talking about how you view your life. Countless research, countless studies. Got all the scientists you could possibly want. I got books of them. You'll see next week stacked up here alongside of me. Books of them that say it really is how life unfolds the way you view it. So this isn't some motivational, oh, Paul, what a great motivational speaker. All depends on how you view your life. He's telling you the truth. It all depends on how you and I view your life. Do you think right now, yes or no, there's a metahuman in you? How did you answer? Now, it may be a while since you've connected to your all-natural being, but is it in you prior to all the conditioning, all the socialization, all the nets thrown at you by the hive, by the herd?
Oh, we're all herdlings. Oh, I like being a herdling. Herdling's fun. Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say? My nose was up the butt of the herdling in front of me. Couldn't hear you.
That's not the way you and I were born. Do you believe? Because the announcer says right up front, hey, this might not be for everyone. Warning, if you're unwilling or unable to release your inner superhuman, this show's not going to be for you. Look, the world has place for potted plants, for cognitive couch potatoes. Somebody's, I guess, got to do it. But that's not you and me. We're not going to settle for that. We're adventurers in search of a treasure, and that treasure sits within you. And that's what I'd like the focus of our show to be this morning. That and predators. So we'll talk about some predators because we're going to tie in the Zika thing and everything I did in Salt Lake City. We're going to tie that in as well. But I just wanted to say that the world is full of predators, not just mountain lions and grizzly bears and rattlesnakes and alligators, but mosquitoes, even things that swim in the water. Cryptosporidium, Giardia, E. coli, all these little things, all these little predators that we can't see. And they'll knock you out just as quick as a grizzly bear will in some cases. They'll take you down as fast as a moose that charges you, believe me. So what are you and I going to do to protect ourselves from a whole host of predators? That's what we're going to focus on today. Because that's what it means to be a spiritual survival expert, a spiritual self-defense expert. You're already one. You were born one. You just let some of those skills atrophy a bit. That's all. But they're not dead. They're just dormant. And we're going to work, just like building any other muscle, we're going to work to rebuild that in you. So you're like, okay, great. Now we're going to go up against the predators. Now we're talking, everyone draw your sword. This is a little different show today because this isn't about a self-defense expert who's always ready to draw his or her sword. This show is going to be about how self-defense experts rely on forgiveness. All right, we're going to go ahead, take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to devote the rest of the show. There's only one segment today. It's how the biggest badasses amongst us use forgiveness as their ultimate training tool, their ultimate training partner. You're not going to want to miss the second half hour. All right, we'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
All right. So it's popular today to say, oh, we need some retribution. Let's go get them. We need to do this and we need to do that. But I'm here to tell you, I'm here to suggest, and let me also say, I'm just not, what's that commercial? I'm just not the men's hair club president. I'm a member. Hey, Bobby. Hey, I should mention the fact we also have an open studio, so people now are just welcome to. I didn't put the little light on air on, so people would just walk in and do whatever they need to do. So, hello, Bob. How are you today?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. How about yourself?
We're doing good. We're getting ready to get into the ultimate spiritual self-defense tool. So, pour yourself a drink, grab a seat, make yourself at home. The spiritual self-defense tool, bar none, number one, is forgiveness. Now, I want to kind of dissect this a little bit. I want to break it down because I can hear people going, oh, no. You want to be a survival expert? You need a 50 caliber machine gun. You need 10,000 rounds. You need all kinds of this. You need all kinds of that. Not so much so, and that's not what we're going to talk about in this show.
No holy water?
None. Zero. Zip. We're all good. So, in the Buddhist tradition, because now I'm going to tie in when Jesus says, hey, forgive them for they know not what they do. And of course, right, how else would you do it? By using Buddhism and Hinduism to kind of support that train of thought. But that's what we're going to do. Hey, that's what you get when you tune in, right? So in the Buddhist tradition, there's the Pali word for forgiveness is kama. And it's spelled K-H-A-M-A. Not a comma, not a C-O-M-M-A, but kama, which also means the earth. So the word forgiveness in the Buddhist tradition means earth, means where you and I come from. So at the root of our all-natural being, you've heard me say before, that there's dirt in our DNA, our soul sap, according to the poet Yusanar. Our soul sap, where we're connected, we come from the earth. And I found it fascinating when I first learned that's what forgiveness meant. The earth, our ground, where we come from. And then if you look at the Hindu Bhagavad Gita, it says that if you want to see the brave, you really want to see the brave, look at those who can forgive. If you want to see the heroic, you're looking for the heroic, are you? You want to see the real hero? Look at those who can return love in the face of hatred. Now, this isn't kumbaya. This isn't, oh, let's just try to all get along. This is about what you can do to defend your spirit, yourself, because I want you to be a spiritual survival expert. So how can that be? Which leads me back to Jesus hanging out on the cross. What if he says, forgive them? Because he knew that his ultimate spiritual self-defense tool was going to be forgiveness. He knew that in order not to have his head and his heart hijacked, but to have them dovetail, that even in that moment where it's looking pretty dire, you got to admit, he says forgive them because he knew. He knew what it would take to dovetail his own heart and his own head to be able to face any of the challenges that lay ahead of him. You don't know. You weren't there. Got a reason. He says, forgive them. Well, what if he was being, as I'm suggesting you should be, full of forgiveness? Not because look, you can forgive people, they'll never know you forgive you. So you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for yourself. And here's why I think countless research studies, countless books, again, I'll show you next week here in the studio, books stacked up everywhere, that forgiveness is such an important tool in terms of psychology, in terms of mental health. A great tool for you. The reason being, I believe, is that because you and I, at our core, at our earth, our heart, in our mind's marrow, we're not a victim. We're not a pincushion. So I went on over, as one would, right, to Wikipedia, figure out a definition. So I went over, you know what it says about forgiveness? It says forgiveness is the intentional and voluntary. Guess you can't have a gun held to your head, right? Because then it's not really yours. You're not owning it. It's not all natural. But it says that the intentional and voluntary process by which a victim, loser, they could have put loser in, they could have put stooge, prey, sucker, fool, fall guy. Want to be sensitive, don't want to be called mansplaining. Again, so fall guys and fall gals, I'll have to say. A chump, a patsy, a sap, not sap in the good way, not like your soul sap, another sap. Why would you and I ever admit to being a victim? Why would we let anyone call us a loser? Why would we let any predator treat us like prey? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure you're not a dupe, you're not a sucker, you're not a fool, you're not a fall guy or a fall girl, gal. I don't want to get in trouble. No more mansplaining. Right? Who are you to be duped? So I think the underlying concept of forgiveness is that you're never going to admit that you were a victim in the first place. Did things go exactly the way you wanted them to? Maybe not. Maybe yes, maybe no. But you have to be victimized from it. So here's a cool gig. You want to go from victim to visionary in the space of a thought? Forgive them. Not for them, but for you, for your own mental health, so that you can have your mental engine firing on all cylinders. If not, you can admit, like you're a victim of the world, a victim of circumstances, a victim of the predators circling in and around you, a victim of the negative, blah, 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 blah. I'm falling asleep on my computer. You know, I don't have to be victims. So that we can go from victim to visionary by going, nah, I'm good. I'm not a pincushion. Not a pincushion. They didn't get through to me. I forgive them. Move on. Now, doesn't mean we have to go into a timeshare in Belize with them. Doesn't mean we have to hang out and play shuffleboard every Friday afternoon. You can forgive people and then just say, nah, I'm good for, future engagements. That's good. But we can forgive them because it's not for them. It's all about you. You let go of those negative emotions. Let's just look at it for a second if you think about, and I don't know why we wouldn't do it this way, but you think about your brain. Your brain is an engine, and it requires fuel. I think we'll all agree with that. Got to have fuel. More times than not, I like chocolate chip cookies for my fuel, but other people, who am I? I'm not a nutritionist. Or I should take this time to mention, not a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a licensed clinical anything. I'm not a shaman. I'm not a guru. I'm not a life coach. I forget some of the other things on the list, but I'm not all those things. And I'm most certainly not a nutritionist. But what I would say is, if your brain really is an engine that uses fuel, why would you blow out all that fuel with vengefulness? Why would you? Why continue to re-victimize yourself at every turn? Because when you hold a grudge, that's got to take some energy. That's a chocolate chip cookie or two, I would think, in order for your brain to be able to process vengefulness, anger. Why portage? Why carry that into this particular moment in all of time? Because then you just, look, raise your right hand. You're a co-conspirator. You're saying that the person that, quote, your term, not mine, quote, victimized you, end quote, is allowed to continue to victimize you, ruining your moment, ruining your day, draining your mind of its fuel, of its natural resources, draining you because you keep carrying that baggage into the present moment. So just admit you're a co-conspirator. All you gotta do is go on Facebook, go on Twitter. You see people,
Oh, this person did this to me. This person did that to me. Can you believe it?
and as I learned the other day, simply having to make mention of the fact that I liked a particular video, and that was a rabbit hole, let me tell you. So I'm not commenting on all these other things that you see pop up in your feed. What I'm simply asking in all of this is that if you truly feel victimized after the event, you're a co-conspirator. You're a co-conspirator. And you can say, "Oh, Bri, well, nothing traumatic has ever happened to you." Yeah, I've not had the easiest of lives. But I can tell you, the day that they went after the priest that had molested me, I felt nothing but compassion for the guy, and I've had a great gig ever since. You look at growing up in a family with an alcoholic father, this is a laundry list. Oh, cry me a river, Brian. Not going to go through the whole laundry list, but I'm pretty sure you can imagine it wasn't smooth sailing, right? Right? Oh, well, let me tell you this. Probably the commission of my first felony, because my dad was never around. He was never there for me when I wanted to go into Boy Scouts. So I think the first commission of my first crime ever in third grade, it was forgery. I forged my mom's signature inside of a Cub Scout book to say that, yes, my dad and I had built the birdhouse together. Well, here's the thing. I never saw my dad. Well, I would see him late in the day when he had been drinking forever. So, you know what? Look, everyone's had a rough life. The drama of the gifted child. To steal a title from Alice Miller's book. The drama of the gifted child. We've all had one. But you have to decide, like Paul Coelho says. You can either be a victim of the world.
Oh, Bri, well, you had such a tough upbringing.
Or you can go, no, I'm an adventurer. I'm in search of the treasure. I'm not going to let anyone victimize me like that in the future. I'm not going to take a beat. I mean, that was the beginning. That, and thankfully a hair lip, was the beginning of me studying in the same martial art. Now, as you know, head on over to Facebook. I have a face for radio. Why I keep doing television commercials is beyond me. But when we look at all the people that have lined up as predators in our lives, forgive them. Why blow your energy? Why give them another moment of your time? You and I got bigger fish to fry. And when you reconnect to your all-natural being, as Jesus was doing in that moment, as the Bhagavad Gita suggests that you do, as the Buddhist tradition suggests that you do, and I'm sure there's all kinds of other religions and philosophies and psychologies around the world that will dovetail with everything doctors are telling us today. Everything doctors are saying was, no, forgiveness is just like a great thing to do, right? Because then your mind's not full of mashugana, which is the medical term for bat crap crazy, in case anyone doesn't know. Even though I'm not a psychiatrist, there's a medical term for you. Mashugana means bat crap crazy. We don't need that in our lives. We got things to do. Our passion has a shelf life. We're going to call our soul off the sidelines, which is why I say all the time, why keep the predators around? The spot that I did for KSL, the link that's up on Facebook today, it's just that looking at a mosquito is a predator. It's true. They can sense you from 100 yards away. They want your blood, the little winged vampires. Let me ask you a question. In your own life, you got some other mosquitoes hanging out, do you? Other beings hanging out that can sense you from over 100 yards away, and all they're waiting to do is drain some of your energy? Walking, talking Venus flytraps? The portable pits of never-ending quicksand? You got some predators in your life that are going to constantly tell you what you can't do, what you can't achieve, what you'll never become? Got any of those? Maybe so. Now would be the time to forgive them. But forgive them doesn't mean going, hey, I'll be open tomorrow if you want to run by and sting me. I'll be out in the backyard running around naked at dusk, so if you're a mosquito that needs another hit of blood, stop on by. Here's my address. No! Forgiveness has nothing to do with that. We're not dopes. We're just refusing to be duped anymore. Now, I can hear people go, Bri, I've been subject to some really crappy things. And a part of me, like 10% wants to go, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. The other part of me, looking at it the way I look at my life, goes, hey, God love you. Congratulations. You've had some great tutors. You've had some great trials. You've had some great tribulations. You've had some great hurdles to overcome. Tell me, how did you do it? Now you have my attention. But you and I don't need to be the bellman that continues to carry the baggage. Because then, again, we're a co-conspirator. And we stand by and allow ourselves to be victimized all over again in this moment, the only moment in all of time that matters. You're not a victim, and you can go from victim to visionary with forgiveness. Because ultimately, at the core of your all-natural being, is it your position that you're truly, all right, all craziness aside, just for a minute, you and me, before we run to a quick break, you and me, is it your position that you were put here to be a pincushion? That you were put here to be a target of some predator? Is that really your position? And that the best way to handle it is to continue moving forward, re-victimizing yourself? Is that what you truly believe? Because if that's the case, and we say it all the time in the opening, just show's probably not going to be for you. I mean, maybe Days of Our Lives. Is there still soap operas as the stomach, or as the world turns? As the world turns? We watch them every day? All right, Bobby says he watches them every day. All right, well, there you go then. Maybe you'd be better off shuffling off and watching as the world turns. Because this show isn't for you. This is for the people on the fence, on the cusp, on the edge. And they go, you know what? I am sick and tired of being a victim. I am sick and tired. Literally sick and tired, because it takes energy to give these people an open mic in our minds.
Oh, it's open mic night. Come on in. It's open mic. You can say whatever you want. I'm all ears.
You and I don't have to do that. We don't have to waste our energy.
Hello? Hello? Is this thing on?
We don't have to let ourselves be treated that way. Think about it. Were you put here to be a victim? We'll be right back.
No self-help industry tactics here. You're listening to The Real Deal, Brian Brawdy, with All Natural Being on IPM Nation.
IPM Nation. I want to thank them again for letting me have the 11 a.m. time slot. And not on Channel 2. This is Channel 1 stuff, baby. We're at Channel 1 at 11 a.m. on IPM Nation. 83rd, I believe. 83rd episode. We're still number 1. I think we're number 1. Here's why. I think there's a growing number of people that are sick and tired of self-help industry tactics. Right? Of this concept of selling sickness, of constantly telling you there's something wrong with you. But you look over here.
Oh, I've got all your snake oil. Yes, I'll siphon some off, put it in a jar. Don't you like the labeling? It's very nice labeling.
I think of people that are sick and tired of being sold this concept of being a victim, of something's wrong. Well, the underlying premise of self-help is that you need help in the first place. You might need a little bit of a wake-up call, a little bit of a pumice stone, a little bit of a jackhammer to get in there and break up some of your baggage. There's a motivational speaker that's proud, I guess, or says it often. If you can look up, you can get up. And instantly, just before I can even think of it consciously, apparently, every time I hear that line, you know what pops into my mind? Do you? Here's my response. If you can look in, nothing can hold you down. If you can look up, you can get up. Well, what a command. Bottom line is, when you look within, nothing can hold you down. Just like my little Twitter thing this morning.
Oh, you want to have a long-term vision for the future.
No, you don't. No, you don't. I respect this guy, big-time author. I like it, but he's wrong in this one point. How about the deep now? How about tapping into who you already are at your core? So let's look at how that would work. It would work in relationships, personal, professional. It would work at work in terms of your career. It works athletically. When you reconnect to your all-natural being, there isn't a playing field or a court that can hold you back. When you do it personally, a little bit of truth in advertising, when you reconnect to your all-natural being, then you're pretty certain, hey, I'm attracting people that know exactly who I am. It's not like we're fractions running around. We're a fractured self, and then when we're surprised, we attract another fractured self, and that union leaves us even more fractured, and we're all stunned by it. So let's not do that. Let's not have the predators in our life that will do what they can to derail us. Look, fate is a formidable enough predator. You and I don't need that. There's things that we can do. As I said on Facebook, the things that bug you. Well, let's stop letting people bug us. Well, how do we do that? Turn off the open mic. No more open mic nights in my mind where everyone's opinion counts, where everyone around me gets to say whatever they want, and I have to somehow believe that it's true. Let's not do it. Let's agree not to be prey anymore. 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. I want to thank everybody for the text. Yes, I am. Someone just said, oh, your energy is a little different. Oh, I'm digging 11 a.m. I really am. So let's get back to you. What are those things right now in your life that you'd say, I'm not going to allow any more predators in. I'm not going to allow any more open mic nights. I'm going to channel my meta superhuman. I'm going to channel that. How is that going to affect your life? It's going to affect it positively. You and I know that. Because you'll be dealing with the real deal, which is you. No more co-conspirator. No more tag team member. No more letting the predators in. When we reconnect to our all-natural being, forgiveness is like an afterthought. How couldn't it be? Because we weren't victimized in the first place. You can't victimize our all-natural being. You can't victimize our soul. You can't victimize our spirit. Arguably, I guess you could say, unless we're co-conspirators and we let that happen. We're the tag team. We accept the baton. We sign for the UPS package. What can Brown do for you? Right? Let's not do that. And the moment we do that, the moment we refuse to let that in, what do we got left? We got our all-natural being left. We have that ground. We have that connection where all of our natural resources reside. So now, if we dovetail this back in with the happiness we spoke of the other day, it's like, well, why wouldn't we be happy? Why wouldn't we have this sense of forgiveness, of compassion? Now, it kind of blends together, to be honest with you, at least in my mind. You have forgiveness. Why do we have forgiveness? Why do we have compassion? Because we understand the person's in the same position. We're fortunate enough to realize that forgiveness is our underlying operating system. They're not. So you got to have a little bit of compassion for that. Got to have a little bit of compassion for the fact that they're running around all bat crap crazy. I would think that they would have a little bit of compassion for that. And that's why I say all the time, I love hanging out on All Natural Being. I love hanging out with the kindred. But it isn't for everyone. When I ask you, how does it benefit you to have a predator in your life? You may have come up with a list of reasons for why you think it's a benefit to have a predator in your life. I don't think there is. I don't think it serves you in any way. So again, let me ask you, if you were going to operate from that grounded being that is your all-natural self, pre-baggage, pre-net, pre-scaffolding, pre-conditioning, pre-all of that, if you could do a 20-second victory, you could breathe in, scan the horizon, what thoughts would bubble up in your mind? Something that you could be thankful for? And even in this situation, if we're confronted by a circumstance where we might need to forgive a person for it, one of my favorite things are road rage. Just before you think, let me lay on the horn, or let me let me flash this guy a gang symbol, let me whatever else I'm going to do. What if you took in a big deep breath, you exhale, scan your horizon, and then you let him take a pass. You go, you wave. Have a nice day. When we do that, they haven't siphoned off any of our energy. I don't know about you, but I dig keeping the energy that I have. I don't want to siphon it off. I don't want to give it to someone else. And that's the key to remaining connected to your all-natural being. That's what forgiveness is all about. We were never a victim in the first place. We're here to be an adventurer in search of a treasure. We're here to stay reconnected to who we are at our core. And that's why I think in the Buddhist tradition, karma, the earth, is the same thing for forgiveness. We're grounded. You can't touch us. Can't touch us. And again, from the Gita, if you want to see the brave, you want to see the real badasses in life, look at those who can forgive. If you want to see the heroic, look at those who can love as a response to having hatred thrown at them. And again, don't do it for the predator. I don't give a crap about them. Do it for yourself. That's what makes it the ultimate spiritual self-defense tool. Because it bolsters you up from the inside. And I don't know about you. As I mentioned from time to time, I'm not a therapist. I'm not here to be someone else's therapist. For all the people that are just couched in their own negative, can't wait to tell you a friend of mine I was hanging out with this morning talked about being at an event where she sat down and the person sitting next to her just wanted to unload all of her crap. You're not paid to be a therapist. You can listen for a moment. You just kind of veg. Breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon. And then you can go, I wish you well. Have a good day. Don't give them an open mic night. What is this, like a stand-up night at a comedy club?
Oh, I think I'll get up and try some of my routines. I just found my next victim. She's sitting next to me. So that's what I'm going to do. Here's all my material. What do you think? No! You and I have a shelf life, for goodness sakes. I don't know about you. I hope you're a lot younger than I am. I hope you live forever. But at my age, my gig's like half over, maybe. If I live to be 220, right? My gig's about half over. I'm not going to live forever. I don't got time for bat crap crazy. I have time for compassion. I'm willing to forgive them. I'm willing to understand what they're going through. All of that. But that's about it. Because let me ask you, don't you need some compassion for the person in the mirror? Don't you need to be able, maybe that's the ultimate thought of forgiveness, is we should be saying, hey, how about I forgive the lug nut in the mirror? Oh, you go through a day in my life, there's all kinds of stuff where I have to look and go, Bri, really? You are such a dope. That's a great way of doing it. Just like we talked about, I believe it was on Monday. You can start your day by making a list of things that you're happy about, that you're thankful for. And then maybe start your day as well. Another 20-second victory. Start your day with a list of people that you'd like to go back in retrospect and forgive. Not because it's good for them, who cares about them, but because it's good for you. Maybe that's what we do.
Then, in the end of the day, we go over the list of the things we're happy for, the list of the things we're grateful for. And that list of people that we're just plain going to forgive, we're going to extend compassion to, because clearly to be mean to another human being, you had to learn that somewhere. So when someone ultimately is mean to me, I feel bad for them that they ever learned how to be mean in the first place. That's what compassion is. That's what meditation is supposed to be.
Oh, we have 101 ways to learn meditation.
And I did promise myself that I wouldn't make that vomiting noise more than once a show. And see, that's why you don't use a sound bite too early on in the show. Thank you. A friend of mine just texted me. True humility is staying teachable, regardless of how much or what you already know. So then humility is also a sense when you can be humble, when you reconnect, when you're back down to that earth that is you. Let me thank Dan. I appreciate that. Let me thank him for the quote. True humility is about letting go. Because the inverse of humility is the ego, and the ego is never going to let anything go. The ego's like, no, let's get a stick and go beat them. Right? The ego's always ready to go to guns. But for you and I, the ultimate spiritual self-defense tool, the ultimate spiritual survival tool, is when we arm ourselves, not with aggression, but with forgiveness. And then we leave our mind clear to be able to handle whatever the labyrinth throws up in the minute. That's the key. So as we always say at this time of the show, why don't we try this today? I'm asking for 20 seconds. If they're scalable, they're stackable. If you can do it for 20 minutes, God love you. Who would you forgive? Because you and I want to be vulnerable, as Dan says, in terms of staying teachable, regardless of how much or what we already know. That's being vulnerable. That's being humble. But you and I can afford to be vulnerable. We can afford to be humble because we're not pincushions. Vulnerable doesn't mean we let them in to perforate our spine, to bash our backbone. Because where our all-natural being sits, you and I are untouchable. And that's why when you forgive another human being, you're calling the shots in life. And I promise you, after all these years of study, that's when the universe dovetails. That's when your heart and your head and the universal heart and the universal head, that's when they dovetail. And that's the key to happiness, to be congruent, to be humble, to be open, to be teachable, to be vulnerable. And you and I can afford to be vulnerable because we know they can't get all the way in. We know it doesn't touch our all-natural being. All right, I want to thank Lisa. I want to thank Sue. I want to thank Dan. I want to thank Bob, everyone that texted in. Thank you very much. I want to thank Bob for stopping by. I'll also let you know, we'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. But between now and then, think of all the different ways you could forgive someone, not for them, but for yourself. Maybe even start off forgiving yourself. It's a tough gig here in the labyrinth. We're always going to be perfect? No. But we can be impeccably human. And being impeccably human is being armed with the knowledge that we're only a pincushion if we're a co-conspirator. Don't let them in. And you can blend compassion and forgiveness and humility all at once. And then your life's going to be a great gig. All right, I got to get out of here. It's noon. Have a fantastic lunch if you're listening. Or maybe you're listening later tonight at 8 p.m., almost 9 p.m. now, the rebroadcast, or again tomorrow morning. So have a great dinner. Have a great breakfast whenever you're listening. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Remember, allnaturalbeing.com, revivingsuperhumans.com, unlockingmetahumans.com, or brianbrawdy.com, whatever you like. Stop on by, leave me an email. I'll email you back. We'll connect that way. Until tomorrow, have an absolutely fantastic day.
Natural Being. You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
IPMNation.com.